All right, let's go. It is Tuesday, the 25th. I am Matt. I am Why Libertarian. We are live every Monday through Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Last night, I had a little late night session. We were a little later than 7 p.m. with Drew Hancock, talking about his content and what he's putting out there, and some of the stuff that he went through with the Libertarian Party recently. And so we get a wide range of things. Tonight is our ongoing discussion about decentralization. So as usual, like, comment, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, retweet, get this information out there to folks that don't want their shit censored, okay? They want platforms where they actually can control or at least have some level of security in terms of whether or not they're going to get ghosted. I had a handful of people today on Twitter that got ghosted, that were all friends and follows and mutuals, and they ended up losing their platform, and the platform made it look like they never even existed anymore. So it is important that these people also have, at the very least, an insurance policy. And that insurance policy is the blockchain. It is decentralized ledgers that allow these people to exist, and not have to worry about some central authority making it look like they never existed in the first place. And so that being said, I am also live streaming right now on Odyssey, on the Library blockchain, as well as Vim TV on the Hive blockchain. And we're going to be talking about, we talk a lot about the Hive blockchain. We're going to talk a lot more about it this evening. And before I get into introducing our guest, I am giving away on Monday, live at 7 p.m. Eastern, I'm giving away 100 Hive. We have a handful of people that have already qualified. If you want to qualify for the giveaway on Monday, go to my Linktree, check out the first link, or go on my Twitter and check out the pinned post. It will give you step-by-step instructions to get signed up for Hive and get your first post on the Liberty community so that you can get qualified for that giveaway. And then subsequent giveaways we will have every single month that you could participate in. So we are we're talking about decentralization this evening. So I have a guest who was on here prior. He talked about PeakD, which is basically a front end for the Hive blockchain, and a front end is just basically a window, the way that you can view the actual blockchain and how it pulls data from the blockchain to present to you. And so we are going to talk more about how the algorithm, you don't have to be a slave to the algorithm. You can actually set up your own feed, so to speak, to make sure that you're not just kind of, being served what someone else thinks or wants to serve you. You are actually seeing content that you want to. So without further ado, for a second time, hopefully not the last time, but for a second time, I have Jarvie here from PeakD. How's it going, sir?
It's nice to be back. It's fun.
Awesome.
I enjoyed
thank you for coming back.
I I feel like we had some unfinished business, so we're going to get done today.
We were very philosophical last time. I think this time we're going to be a lot more practical in
Yes.
terms of what we're going to cover. So before we get into like the tutorial aspect of it, what's a day in the life look like for you? Like, is it mostly just talking to devs, or are you on the blockchain actually doing things? Like, what does that look like?
I work with our developer. That's several hours.
Yeah,
We're in different time zones, so he'll already have done a lot by the time I've woken up.
yeah,
Catch up with that. A lot of like seeing what's going on with our users and seeing if there's any questions,
yeah.
and then also going in, and we do have a blockchain where you can reward either with tips or with the concept of a reward pool. So finding things where they've helped other of our users and reward them. And there's some business stuff that we have to do, and
Of course.
a lot of planning and working on, like, my main job is working on design of the site, not as like a art designer, but like how is it going to look and how is it going to run. So that'd be the main thing that I do.
Awesome. All right, cool. So last time
So
we were
some
talking.
days, like recently, that's been me working with someone like, well, maybe someone like your audience, and doing a observational test or walkthrough, like someone that's never used the site, watch them, screen record them as they go through several different tasks that we have. So, and then just take notes and say, okay, what do we need to prove?
That's awesome. It's a it sounds like it's an iterative process, right? Like you design it and then see how people use it, and then you need to adapt or
Yeah.
pivot and things like that. So that's fantastic.
We're definitely a move fast and break things sort of thing. And we have a very good audience that we have a lot of users. We consider ourselves not like we've existed since the beginning of Hive as the primary, like the most used interface for Hive. And yet we put up things and then people say, hey, you have this to do. So we're able to move fast because we have a lot of people that help test, basically.
Awesome. I love that. I love that you're not just kind of like taking shots in the dark. It's more of a scientific approach, or at least a more of a calculated approach, which is fantastic, and user driven, which is awesome. So, all right. So last time we were talking about communities. We were talking about kind of like filtering your feed and stuff like that. What did you want to start off with in terms of kind of like looking at some of the technical capabilities for PeakD?
I think that we should start with showing some practical things. We talked about why, now let's do how. And I've got one thing to start off with.
Sure.
It may not be in perfect order, but I want to talk about this show right now. So I want to do a post, and I thought, hey, let's do the post live.
Okay, awesome. Do you want to work the controls, or you want me to work the controls?
I'll work the controls for now. But what I want to also do is setting up a community, because I know your show has been talking a lot about the community that you're making. Let's I'm going to share. So I want to talk about that as well, and I want to talk about some general features of PeakD. But I also want to push. I hope that in the show notes you're talking to them about our last one that we did, because that has a lot of the whys.
Yes.
So
yeah, most definitely. And what I will do is I'll link back to it too. I'll probably do either an excerpt of this or something, and I'll link to both of them. Because yeah, that's really important.
So first of all, I'm logged into my account. My name's Jarvie. Here's my account. And what I wanted to do was promote this onto the Hive blockchain. I've already gone into Discord, and I also went to Twitter and had the PeakD account promote it. So right now, what I want to do is to all the Hive users, I want to promote your show. And I know that it's going to be good content for PeakD and for myself. So let's put it on there. So I've got a title, which is extremely important.
Yep.
You can't. There's two important things that you can't not have, and that's title and a topic. So
Okay.
those are actually the two required fields. And then I have decided where I want to put this post. Now, here's a question for you. Should I put this in the About PeakD, publish it to the audience that is subscribed to that community? There's a community called About PeakD. Or should I put it in the Why Libertarian, I guess?
It's called the Liberty Community.
The Libertarian community, yeah.
Yeah, it's just Liberty. It's just Liberty. But you can put it in About PeakD. That's fine because I'm going to end up reblogging it as soon as you put it out there.
Exactly. That makes sense. So now I make the decision whether that's where I'm putting it, but I could also put it on my own blog. Now, as my own blog operator, I'm deciding what I want on my blog. And I can show people real fast because this is a discussion about PeakD itself. My internet's slightly slow, so let's give that a moment to load up. But the answer is no. My blog is very much about photography.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and so we have it. You can go to all my posts and you can see I write a lot of stuff that is not photography related, like about finance stuff and about Splinterlands, about PeakD, lots of random things. But my blog, I have decided personally, is going to be about photography. So I'm going to leave that unchecked. I've got a title. While you were talking before, I wrote a general concept of what this would be. Mm-hmm. I'm actually going to give these bullet points. Now, I'm just going to post this real fast because time is of the essence. I can go back and edit it later. And then actually I'll edit it to say it's not live once it's no longer live.
Yeah.
And then a short preview description. I don't know if all the interfaces to Hive have this, but this is a good thing for if you're ever resharing it somewhere else. You want a preview description so that when you link it somewhere else, I'll give an example. I'm on Discord and I put that didn't work because I just did I don't have this done, but it would be like this. This right here is a preview. So YouTube does it and PeakD does it, that it will have a short description and it will give you a thumbnail and all that stuff. So it's not just a link. Speaking of links, this is more of an advanced feature that you do not have to do. Remember, it's just title and topic. But you can go in here and change your link if you are into having shorter links. So I could say of PeakD, and now I've changed the link to whatever I want. So there you go.
Oh, that's awesome. So it's like a vanity link.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing I would say, sorry to cut you off, but the other thing I would say is compared to some of the other places that you can enter content onto the blockchain, your user interface is definitely really helpful in terms of, like, you don't necessarily need to know coding, right? So, like, you have most of the typical, like, word formatting type of options there in terms of, importing photos and videos and embedding things and bold facing and stuff like that, which is more of a traditional, kind of like interface as far as blogging goes. Whereas, say, like if someone goes to hive.blog, sometimes you need to know the shortcuts or, the short form code to kind of like format. Yep.
So we do have the things to help people with the codes that are needed for what this language is called Markdown. So is when you put a dash, it gives you a bullet point. It's just certain things that represent something else.
Yep. So
we have also added, if you give people a link to a video, we will show that video. And we do it for Odyssey, we do it for YouTube and Vimeo and 3Speak and probably a couple others. And then we also have the upload pictures, which is an internal system. So you can provide a link, but you can also just upload a picture and we will create a link for you.
Awesome.
And some other like little hidden features. We have snippets. So if you have a general ending to your post, that you always use, like a typical ending or a signature or a link that you're always using or a line break that you're always using, you can put that in here, and then then you'll always have it when you come back to your post writing, and then just like, oh, where's that ending? And then you just drag it in there.
Yeah, it's really helpful. I find myself continually, even on the Web 2, especially on the Web 2.0 platforms, continually having to go back to like prior posts and like copy and paste things from the past into there. So that's really nice.
So snippets is what this is called. That would be super easy for you. Now, there's two things I want to point out we're going to have a discussion about communities, but it's always already popping up here in the post. I chose about PeakD. Every community has a set of rules that they can set up. When I have chosen about PeakD, it's going to inform me of the rules of that community. So as far as I know, we're the only interface that will right then and there inform you the rules of the community. So the About PeakD community, it's only content related to PeakD interface, cross post by moderators only. And if you want to do a cross post, ask these people.
Sure.
So very simplified set of rules, but so you basically need to respect the rules of each community, right?
Yep.
So might as well give them the rules right then and there. The other thing that we're showing is preferred topics that are coming from that community. So the PeakD community has given the user several preferred topics, and we'll go over those sorts of things. So I'm going to use a couple of them, and maybe this is an AMA as well. So this actually fulfills a few different things. But let's finish up with and get this out the door, okay? So I don't know if there's any other topics I'm missing. I can also update them later. It also will tell them how many topics you can use, which is 10. And it shows you how many you've used out of this. Keep in mind, there's a couple of things that have changed on this because I'm using the beta.peakd.com, which anyone can use, but these will soon go to peakd.com. Actually, very soon once I'm done testing and we get another product in there. So any questions up to this point? I actually think that maybe I could show them a couple advanced features, things that they don't have to remember, but maybe they'll find it fun to know that they exist.
Yeah, no, go for it.
Okay. So if you are on a shared account, you could identify yourself as a particular author. So if on Why Libertarian, you end up having many, many people on there writing posts, you can identify yourself as a particular author. So there are quite a few, like a game or an application that there's many people that write posts. So there you go, author.
Awesome.
You can also determine the high rewards pool distribution method. So that's a little bit more advanced. But we have, if you want to decline the rewards or donate it or burn it or use it all for non-liquid, so 100% non-liquid. Right now, it would be 50-50 liquid and non-liquid. So that's the default. But beneficiaries. So this case, I wanted to do this because we're going to do this. The general thought is that if you are making money, not that this is going to be a ton of money, but my posts usually average about 15 and the author gets about half. So let's say $7, $8 that I should be giving. If part of this content is because of you, then shouldn't you be making some of that money?
Sure. I like money.
So there we go. We're going to give you 25%. We'll go with 30% of that. I'm also donating to PeakD. We have a lot of our users that will put 5% of every post they do to PeakD. And it helps development, that sort of stuff. So anyways, beneficiaries is a cool thing. You can give a beneficiary to like a special, a charity case, or because it's partly someone else's content. There's also options for making collections, a countdown timer. In this case, we wouldn't need a countdown timer, but that's like if there's a contest or when you are announcing, like, hey, we're about to have a state, at 7 o'clock, we're going to be talking with Jarvie. You would have a countdown timer in there.
Oh, that's awesome. So many times on social media, you'll put up like a promo post for something that's happening later in the day or into the future. And, people will forget about it because you're not necessarily like, unless you throw it into your calendar or something, you're not going to see it again unless someone else puts another post up like immediately before it happens.
Yeah.
And so I think I actually put something up to that effect too, in terms of the drawing we have on Monday for the hive that I'm giving away. Yep. So
you can
awesome.
go in on PeakD and edit your post. It doesn't matter where you created it, and you can go in and put a countdown timer in it retrospectively, and that way it will talk to the user in their time zone instead of you having to give like 4 different time zones. This is the Eastern, and this is the UTC, and this is Pacific, and this is, like you basically could put the countdown timer in there. And maybe you still want to put a time zone because some people aren't using PeakD. I think that hive.blog maybe has implemented countdown timer, and that's a good discussion, is almost all of these things, or if all of these things, they're done in a way that any of the other platforms could easily integrate them if they want. And it's a decentralized protocol, something they can all do. And I think some of them have done it. I think some of them saw us using the countdown timer for months and they said, we should do that. And same thing with Author. I'm pretty darn sure that they've integrated Author into hive.blog, that sort of stuff. But I'm done here. If you have any questions, I'm just going to publish.
Yeah, go ahead. Fire away.
Okay, so then what they're probably not seeing is that I'm using the Hive keychain application, which is it's an extension for my browser.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a philosophical discussion for a moment. I am the one that is putting the information onto the blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
PeakD did not put information onto the blockchain. When you're on hive.blog is not putting information onto the blockchain if you are using Hive keychain or Hive signer.
Yeah.
I am the one that's doing it. The software is on my computer, on my browser as an extension. And so when I click that button, I am sending the information to a node, and then it's getting transmitted to the block producers, and they're officially getting it onto the blockchain. But it's me. I'm the one that instigated it. What did PeakD do? It gave me the interface to create the transaction that I did.
Yeah, so, no, that makes sense. You're effectively authenticating that you are the person or the entity that is putting that information onto the blockchain, and you're basically just going through a conduit, right? But there's a validation there that has to happen, which is really important.
Yeah, PeakD is just formatting the text so that the node people are happy about it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. No, and I can tell you that the user experience in terms of putting stuff up on PeakD is just as good, if not better, than, like I said, some of the traditional blogging platforms and things like that. So anyone who has done any kind of blogging, or even like a Facebook post now, because of how complicated their UI is, they're going to find it pretty intuitive in terms of being able to kind of put those things together. There are a couple of elements, such as, like you said, kind of like naming beneficiaries and stuff, that's new in terms of how that goes. But really, for the nuts and bolts of it, someone who's used to posting long form Facebook posts or blog posts on on their typical website or something like that, they're not going to see very much difference. Or at least what I should say is, like, it's not like they're going to be at a deficit moving to PeakD. If anything, it's going to be just as good, if not a better user experience. So yeah, no, I've found it really, really conducive to being able to put stuff out there. So,
Perfect.
All right, what's next? So I kind of jumped the gun here. So I cyber stalked you on PeakD, and I upvoted and reblogged already. So
Okay,
hopefully you got those notifications.
perfect.
But what else do you want to look at?
Oh yeah, let's look. Well, they haven't come through. Well, nope, did they? Yeah, there they are already, reblogged
Yeah.
and voted. That's fun. Okay, so let's take a moment, and I do want to stress what we just went over was drafts, creating a post in depth. Most of those things you do not know. You need to do. You need a title, one topic, and then some content, and then hit post, and you're good to go. You can also schedule posts with PeakD. I think we're the only one that allows scheduling in advance.
Mhm.
So you just set up a time. Getting there is up here in this corner. So create a post. You can also view your drafts that you have started. You can view templates. So you can create a draft and then save it as a template if you want to redo that type of draft again and again and again. You can also see the posts that you have scheduled. And since we last talked, we released a feature called collections, which I do probably want to go over maybe towards the end. But if not any questions there, I'm going to talk a little bit about communities, which is kind of the lifeblood, in my opinion, of the Hive social media experience.
Yeah, 100%, because I think that is really. I think we talked last time about this chicken and egg kind of thing, right? Like, do you get content creators onto the platform, and then the people, then the creators? I think the answer is a little bit of both, but it's not like you can just like what Spotify did with Joe Rogan, right? Like they went and got Joe Rogan, but they had a big platform before they went and got him, and so. Building the platform on Hive is really about these communities that have these kind of common interests, which I think is a really smart way of doing it. So, all right, what do you got in terms of communities here?
All right, so a fun little historical thing with Hive is the fact that the word Hive existed long before the blockchain Hive was around. Like it was already in use in a previous blockchain called Steam.
Yep.
And it was in use for communities. There was a system called HiveMind that was a database and they decided that communities would be built within inside of this database called HiveMind. And so when we were looking for a new word to call this blockchain when we forked, it was actually I suggested, I was like, we're already using HiveMind and it's cool, and communities is going to be the central point in my opinion, so let's call it Hive. And so then there was a big vote, and we said, okay, well, let's do it. So that's a fun historical thing. Okay, so now we're in a community, which is basically an account that someone owns. So that gives you true ownership, which is obviously a big thing about PeakD. So here we are on our view of communities. Okay, so we've got the typical things like the name. We also use the shorthand C/. We expect that will likely be started to be used by other interfaces, but we're kind of starting it off. There's some stats.
Would that give you the ability to say like tag the community as well?
Yeah, that's for future. We're going to look into doing that, but we also would like to do that with other interfaces so that it works for other interfaces. So, awesome. So that's going to take a little bit of time to talk with them as they catch up with working on community stuff. So there's not a lot of development on all of the interfaces. Some interfaces have more development, and some have people that just do it part-time, like every couple of weeks they'll come in and do something. And some that have full-time people working on it,
Sure. Yeah, no, that's awesome.
All right, so so there's a bunch of posts, and the way we have most of our pages is there's sorting mechanisms, right? So you have two algorithms, trending and hot, and then you can sort by recent. So every user gets to decide how they want to sort it, but the community owner can decide the default. Okay.
Okay.
So the default by the About PeakD community is recent. Also, I can see all of my posts inside of this community. Let's do that. That should be fun. That's a kind of a, you'll find a lot of hidden gems. So here's all of my posts that I have put into this community. You'll see the one from 19 days ago when we last spoke.
Yep.
You can see the about. You can see that every community, no matter the interface, you can have moderators, an admin, and an owner. So this is the account that owns the community, and they decide admins. And then, you know, both of these people can decide moderators. So you essentially, the assumption is you have rules, and the moderators would moderate based on those rules, of course. And then description is whatever you want it to be. We'll take a look at yours a little bit later. You can see subscribers, activities, but that's not really the fun part.
Sure.
Fun parts is things that we have added, like preferred topics, which gives you the ability to say, these are the types of posts that we want to see, you know, like questions and ideas and AMAs and how-tos. And so I can go and look for just posts that are videos. And now this is up for you to decide. You can add up to 20 of these. 10 will show, and then there'll be a drop down. So these are all just video posts. Or we've done a couple of AMAs in the past. We should do a couple of more in the future. So here's our AMA posts. If someone comes in and has a question, this is good because then you could see all the questions people may have. So another fun thing is that we've added a feature called cross-posting. So if you post your post to another community, but you think it may be viable in the About PeakD community, then you would have to either create a new post or use this cross post. And if you duplicate a real post twice, then you are likely to get people mad at you on Hive, because then you would have the opportunity to get high reward pool money twice. Okay. And then that's considered perhaps potentially abuse of Hive rewards pool, because you're getting it in you're getting it twice. So using a cross post helps solve that. So it's not maybe the most used thing. We see an example there. There's also other communities. I want to show off one that we have been sponsoring. So let's go to that. I am part of way too many communities as an admin or a follower or whatever. So this photo game started up last Monday. So it's been going for about 8 days. It has preferred topics. It also has a chat system here. So you can come in here, and it's maybe broken momentarily. Bad timing. Or maybe because it's, oh, no, it worked. Sorry. So anyway,
patience is a virtue.
It just didn't work the first time for some reason. Anyway, so people interacting with each other on this chat, and we've integrated what other people have done. So this group created a product called BChat, and we integrated it, and it works with all platforms that want to integrate it. So another decentralized system. I do want to say that we do hope that they improve BChat to the point where it has encryption. So don't put any sensitive things in your chats. And you'll see chat up here on the top right-hand corner. You'll see that I have 2 ongoing chats. I have a lot of chats going on, but 2 that I have not read the messages. So, and this one's an open chat, so I don't mind showing you those. But these are group chats, one that's been renamed and one that hasn't been renamed. And lots of other chats. So not a ton of people maybe are using this. We estimate maybe 10, 15% of our audience, maybe more. It's hard to know. But that's because this blockchain and the people on the blockchain have been here for many, many years without having a chat feature. So they defaulted to what existed outward, which was Discord. So as more and more new people come in, they will start to use this, and then people go, what the heck is Discord? I don't want to use that. But right now, the primary audience of Hive tends towards using Discord. So it's going to be kind of like an ebb and flow until one day 10,000 new people come in once we start doing marketing, and this will take over and everyone's going to go, suck it, Discord. Why do we have to go to a third-party place? Why can't we do everything on the same? And this will work on every platform that wants to use BChat. And what is nice about this, if I message Jarvie5, which is my sister, I know with 100% certainty that that is actually Jarvie5, and that is not something you have on any other service, on Discord or on Twitter or whatever, because people will spoof other people's names.
Sure. Yep. And to that point, so like you have the certainty of that conversation, or at least the recipient. And then you also have something that people are not used to, because in Web 2.0ville, if you wanted to add something like this, right, most social media platforms, they would have to go out and purchase Discord in order to integrate it into their system or something like that. Whereas on the blockchain, you can have someone who comes up with a solution like this, and PeakD, if they're a good provider of something like this, PeakD can integrate it into your front end. Or Ecency or Hive.blog or any of the other ones that also want to use it are also free to bring that capability on board, which, it means that you can, take it or leave it, and there's not like this kind of like all or nothing thing where it's like, Titans trading billions of dollars to move these proprietary things back and forth, which is fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I suppose BChat could charge us or could charge different people. It's not 100% decentralized, but it is the closest thing we have. So
sure. Yep.
Let's go back to what the page would look like. We have descriptions. We have we put the preferred topics down here to help those that maybe are coming to this without not on PeakD, so that they're not seeing the preferred topics. You'll see that we have quite a few here. So we've also are experimenting. Oh, well, let me show you a few other things. The Hive itself and communities itself have the ability to give people labels. So, so she got given the label of Revitalizer because this Photo Games is 3 years old and she wanted to restart it. I happened to start Photo Games, and that's how me and my co-founder met each other, through Photo Games. So we gave myself the title of instigator, and this one is the big kahuna, because it's the Photo Games account. And this is the GIF master. So fun little labels is one thing. You can pin posts. Mm-hmm. That is a function that all the interfaces should have, is pinning posts. Another thing is, so there's more rules, descriptions. Let's show you, there is a photo view. So we have, this is overall something that PeakD specializes in, is giving users the option of more views. So we have what we call the blog view. We have what we call the grid or masonry view. We have a list view. This is kind of similar to what a Reddit does. Where you put a little bit more on the post, and maybe this is more for like a mobile experience. And then the photo view. So there's 4 views. There's a search function in here. There's collections, which I told you I was going to go over a little bit later. Also, sure. There's one really cool thing. You've been telling people to write an introduction post. Mm-hmm. And you're telling them, okay, do these sorts of things in there. Well, how cool would it be if you created a template for them to kind of give them an idea of what to put in their introduction posts? Well, Photo Games is a series of a ton of different games, right? There's Title Tuesday, we're on Tuesday. There's Metadata Monday. There's Music Monday, Show Off Saturday, Fix It Friday, where you edit someone else's picture.
Yeah.
All of those are templates. Let me click on this. Sorry, let me refresh. I had it showing a moment ago. There we go. I had to be patient again. So they're all templates. Now I'm on beta, so it's a little bit different. But if I was on regular, I would show 15 different templates. On beta, we only put 2 for testing. So you could put your introduction post sort of thing here as a template, and that means everyone in your entire community would have access to that template. So we're telling people that they can do for fun games opposed to the official games, and anyone can run a game that they would like. They could use, and in seconds, use that template, which is basically telling them, drop in a picture and put what their reward is going to be. And there you go. Like, then they have a cool, fun post for people to play.
Awesome.
So I want to go to all the communities. I want to do a search for Liberty. I think I probably already followed it. Let's do a search. I have so many communities, it's hard for me to sometimes know. This is yours, right, with the Ron Paul?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so I'm going to hit subscribe. And so we would want to, and maybe this is where you could jump in and let's go through, maybe screen share for you.
Okay. So let me pull this up here. All right. And I'm going to go to Liberty. All right. So now you actually have a grid view. Is that in like your defaults? Is that why yours defaults to the grid view?
Yeah, I have chosen in my PeakD settings. So go to Why Libertarian up in the top right-hand corner.
Okay.
Let's do some fun things before we get there and go down to settings.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to change up this settings interface pretty soon, but I'll navigate you over. Go to interface. This is settings that so your personal default mode is grid, but that doesn't override what your community's default is.
Okay.
But you can always change it. So you also have the ability to do a dark mode or a light mode. It looks like you're on dark mode. And then there's what looks like a cell phone mode.
So if I just click save.
Yeah, I mean, everything was all set up. So I guess we go back to, I could tell you some other settings that may be of interest.
Yeah, sure.
So content, how you want to handle not safe for work. So you can unlock that. So
it gives you an option. So one will give you like a disclaimer, right? Like it's NSFW, and you have to click to open it versus show it. Okay, all right.
So now it will just always show that. So and if you are a parent, you could lock that so that only you could unlock it, because only you have the active key, perhaps. So you wouldn't give your child the active key, and you would lock it to a certain thing. So so you don't obviously have to lock it if you don't want, of course. So you can change your default comment sorting. So right now the default is to sort all comments based on reward. So you can see a few different options. So you can also hide specific tags if they're starting to annoy you.
Okay.
So topic tags is what that should say.
And then in general,
you get to choose your node. So this is part of your, that's a super advanced function, but I mean, it's part of your ability to have kind of autonomy over your own experience. You can choose your own node. Setting it to automatic is great, because then if api.hive.blog goes down, we'll switch you to another one. So you can also make someone a beneficiary of your account every time you do a post, or make PeakD one. So you can edit the default. So you can take out PeakD or put someone else in there, that sort of thing. If you're going to go and vote on someone, maybe you have a tendency to not give them 100% vote and just give them a 10% vote. So you can change that.
Okay.
These, I would say, are all kind of advanced sort of things that people do not need to do. So if you're a new user, just pretend you didn't hear the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It'll be fine without any of that stuff.
Well, and just really quickly, the last couple of ones, enabling portfolio view, what does that correspond with?
Oh, that's if you're a visual art creator, like a photographer or just an artist in general, and you would like to have a new collection tab on your profile that will be called portfolio, and it will have a URL. So therefore, you could send people, hey, I want to see your artwork, and you send them directly to their portfolio. They don't need to read the posts. They just want to see the pictures.
That'd be fantastic. Okay.
So you could go to mine and you would see the portfolio looks really cool with a lot of cool art. So,
all right. So if I go to Jarvie and I click Jarvie here on the left. Now, one thing also, if I go back here, one thing I have noticed is the search sometimes is a little wonky. So like,
well, before you mentioned this, I know exactly. And search is actually what we're working on before we do our next release. So we have a bunch of things for the release, but we want to get search in there. And it's going to be a completely better, amazingly, way better search experience. We haven't touched search in, I don't know, maybe a year.
Yep.
And it frustrates me, and it's not good.
Yeah.
And it doesn't search collections. It doesn't search badges. It doesn't search communities. All those things are new, and none of them will let search right now. So
yeah. So that's good. I mean, that's good. That's evolving. So if I click Jarvie here, which is the number one result, and let's see, I click collections or portfolio.
Portfolio is what we were. Yeah.
Okay. And so, this is giving more of a traditional blog style, at least visual blog style representation of your work, which is fantastic.
And now one of them doesn't fit, and I could go to that post and remove it. And I should go
this
in
one
and
right here you're talking about?
Like, a little bit of upkeep on my portfolio.
That's okay. It looks a lot better than mine would if I was doing photography. I'll tell you that much. All right, fantastic. So that's like basically the settings and things like that. What I did try and toy around with was in terms of the community settings. So if I go to the Liberty community and I click actions, settings. Now, here's the one thing. If I click on roles and titles first, I actually was not the person who started the community. So I'm listed as an admin, but I am not currently listed as the owner of the community. So will that limit...
that particular account could ever be the owner.
Okay.
And it has to be a hive, dash, and then 6 numbers. For the whole system to work, only that can be the owner. So if you wanted to transfer ownership, what they would need to do is give you the keys. And for you to be sure that you would both be owners, essentially, because you both have the keys. So you would want to change the keys so that the new keys only you know.
Okay. So in that case, Nick, who I'm circling here, We Lost Liberty, he's actually the one who was the originator of the community. So if we both wanted to be able to, change settings and stuff like that, you're saying he would have to share the keys for that account with me.
There are certain settings that you have to have that owner key in order to change.
Okay. All right, that's fine.
But not all of them. Like right now, as an admin, you can change who the moderators are, the members, who's muted. Also, if you go back to actions and change settings, there is it's divided into 2, about and others. Everything on about you can change. Everything on others you cannot change.
Okay.
Unless and he could just give you the posting key, and then you would be able to change it all.
Okay, awesome. So the about is just basically the general information, right, for the community.
Yes. Rules, descriptions, language, the name, the short description. Yep.
Okay, and then So yeah, that's just the basics. So now if we click
Now,
on
all the
other, we have some
fun
other things here.
things that we do for you
Yeah.
are in others.
Okay.
So, and we store all of this in the owner account. So that's why you need the key for the owner account, because this is where everything's getting stored.
Okay.
So a picture, for example, a
And then
background.
this background back here that's grayed out right now, that's because there's no cover image. All right. It gives you the option of going to default
A
page.
default page. Yep.
Yep. So that would be, that recent
If you
trending
want to
or
take them
about.
right to a collection, or if you want to take them to a curator page, because as you see down below, we give them the ability to have a curator. So enable curated content. So you would put a curator account, and whoever that curator votes on would show up in that curator page. So it's a
Okay.
way of like helping people. Hey, this is like the best stuff first. This is
Okay.
what
So
we think is the best.
so you could basically give someone the authority to go through the posts within the community, upvote the ones that are kind of like the best of the best, and
Yes,
this would essentially consolidate them into this curator
a tab.
portfolio or collection.
Yeah, it would give them a tab on the page, and they'd go, "Oh, I wonder what the curator thinks is good." Now you can make that page default as well.
Awesome. So I would have to enable the curated collections page.
No, that's curators. Collections is different than the curated content.
Oh, okay. So how is the curated collections page different?
It would create another tab on your collection on your community that would specifically have just collections. And remember, collections is something that I said we'll go over a little bit later.
Okay. And then, interestingly enough, there's a require beneficiary on posts of a certain percentage. So you could essentially require that the community or some other default account gets a percentage of the rewards on each one of the posts.
Yes.
Okay. And to what end? What would be the purpose of that?
Photo Games has a great example of that. And every post that is done on Photo Games goes back into the reward pool for the games to keep it consistent. So let's say a community was giving out a big Hive reward to all the people that enter. Know any community like that? They come into the community and write a introduction post, and at the end of May, they're going to give a reward to their community members. And let's say you want that to be a consistent, ongoing thing. So maybe everyone in the community, when they write a post, it's going to that pool to help incentivize new users.
I do know a community like that. It is entirely possible that the Liberty community might actually be giving away some crypto every month. So, yeah, that would be a fantastic way to. In which case, on May 31st, I will be giving instructions for the June giveaway. So those instructions might direct people to PeakD in order to make that post for the June giveaway. So we'll see if we can't grow that pool.
I will say this, though. There's a couple caveats to that. And the reason we haven't actually, I am surprised that it's even there. I didn't think that we released that yet. I thought it was only for Photo Games so far, but it's there. It puts it into the rules so that people see it in the rules. But I ask you a question. Do people tend to read rules?
Yeah. Most don't.
Funny.
Yeah.
So if you put in a rule where you're telling people to give a percentage, that's going to be awkward. Now you have to decide, how are you going to moderate that? Are you going to remove every post that doesn't have that? Are you going to be pretty strict on this? That's up to you. Yeah. What we have developed a new tool that we are testing with Photo Games that has an auto moderator. And that will go in and look specifically at that rule. And if it's not complying, it will auto moderate it so that the moderators have to do zero work.
Oh, wow.
And if you put that in there, if they're using PeakD, this helps you. If you put that in there, if they use PeakD, it will automatically put the beneficiary at whatever you said. So it'll help them. But what if they're not using PeakD?
So
then you have to assume that they read the rules.
That is true. Which, by the way, again, what are the rules for complying, right? Or for not complying, for whatever the giveaway is or whatever the function is that you're going for. That could be, it has to be done through this front end or whatever in order to qualify. The other, so the question I had was, so if you put this required beneficiary in here in the settings, so is that's now just automatically adding that beneficiary to the posts that are done through PeakD, right?
Yes.
Nowhere else?
Nowhere else has done it, but they could easily do it if they wanted to. It's a decentralized protocol. It will show up in the metadata of the owner account. They could easily look at it. We haven't even really promoted or said to anyone that this exists really much. Mm-hmm. So the interfaces probably don't know about it yet. We're testing it out. So also you can have a soft rule where the rule is stated, but there's no action,
no requirement.
You're not going to moderate get rid of the things or get mad at them or whatever. You maybe just will send them a message saying, hey, next post, don't forget to make whatever is your pool account, or just give it to the owner account.
Sure. All right. So we have a couple more to look at in terms of the community settings, but there is a little bit of chatter going on here in the comments.
Oh, fun.
So, I'm seeing, let's see. Will asked, when do you think BChat will be encrypted? Bill said, I think there is no timeline. And then there was some talk about whether memo keys were being used as far as the encryption goes.
There is no encrypted chat. BChat isn't encrypted, so it's not using a memo system. There has been discussion about how, if they would do encryption, how they do it. So it's not necessarily our product. We could, I guess, take it over and work on it, but we have a whole entire set of other products that we would like to work on. It would take some nudging of the developer, and the one that's paying for it is a business on Hive called Hive Engine. Mm-hmm. You've probably heard of them. So if you nudge them, went into their Discord, funny enough, they don't use their own product. So you'd have to go to the Discord and nudge them and say, hey, we sure would love to see encryption on BChat.
Yeah. Lest someone else come along and eat their lunch for them.
The general feel is this. It is open source. And I believe they would be totally fine with someone taking it over.
That's interesting.
And building encryption into it, or at least, they're running a server for it. So maybe you just want to give them how to do it instead of having the bill of doing the server yourself. Obviously, we would be willing to help fund the server and that sort of thing. So it gets too much funding and we'll just take it over ourselves.
Yeah.
But within limits, we'd like, okay, you've got a, $40, $20. I assume it's like you could do a server for $10, $15 a month to run that thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's not too
whatever.
bad.
The Hive Development Fund could run that, which is a system where you make proposals to help Hive, and they get funded by, in general, this development fund from Hive. So
that is also something that is foreign to folks, which is part of that learning curve, is the community aspect also of there being some crowd-funded projects that have, not universal, but they have, the benefit to the community. of these things being funded and developed. And so it's not necessarily, some, rogue entrepreneur who's running around doing these things and funding them themselves or trying to go to Wall Street or something and get money. It is literally the community funding those projects because there is, some use to the community, which is awesome.
Yeah. So we do that. PeakD does that. We get funding. And, like in return, we believe that we're helping the whole entire Hive ecosystem by creating a product that has many multiple, like little things that you'd never get like funding for individually, like every one of those decentralized protocols, the authors, the countdown timers, the portfolios, the collections, all the changes to communities that are based on a decentralized protocol. There are tons of little things that didn't take a ton of time, but they stack up to be a pretty long list. And in general, just kind of running the system and improving it and making it hopefully the best place for people to come in and experience Hive social media for the first time, because there's more to Hive than just social media, but I have social media for the first time. So
and that's an evolving thing where it's definitely a question of, okay, the platform is viable and it is like open to so much development. I mean, basically things are going to be like the world around everyone right now, especially the digital world, is going to be recreated in some way, shape, or form on the blockchain. And so, the question is, all right, how do you get people there, right? Like what's the carrot or whatever? And there's a bunch of different ones that are being developed right now, which is, part of that process. So it's really exciting to see. There are a couple of other things here where
let's go back to it.
I just want to make sure that we cover kind of the last couple of settings here.
For sure, do the preferred topics. That's like a no-brainer one, in my opinion.
And that's basically what people are essentially kind of like hashtagging their posts with, right? Okay.
Yeah, some places call it tags. We call them topics. Sometimes we call them topic tags. Some people may call them hashtags, I suppose. But
yep. And the one thing that I typically remind people on is based off of the front end or the platform that you're working on the Hive blockchain, how you basically put those topics or tags in may differ. So it might just be a space. It might be a comma, which is, I think, what 3Speak uses.
I think we do both. Just saying.
You do both. Okay. Yeah. And so, you just kind of have to know what world you're in or kind of what lens you're viewing the bloblockchain through.
I think we do both, and maybe even I don't know. We do anything that you would expect.
Awesome. And then here's something that's interesting. So we're talking about BChat. So you're saying that there's also the ability to essentially put in the preferred channel for BChat for the community, right?
You wouldn't really know that channel ID. You just hit that green button and it will create that you will create a BChat chat for your community if you hit that green button, and that's it.
Oh, wow. Must be logged in and connected. Okay, so I got to figure that out.
You have to have the posting key for that Hive owner account.
Okay.
And then put that into your keychain, I suppose.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then you can do any of these things.
Now, so that looks like most of the settings here. Let me just ask you. All right, so if folks want to, one way they can filter.
Wait. There's one more before you leave this. You can hit the pencil, and you can do this because you're an admin. Hit the pencil next to "We Lost Liberty" or something like that. That says "No title set," and you can give that person a title, like the founder or the creator or whatever you want to do.
I got to think about it. So I know that Nick already gave Mike the moniker Liberty Jesus because of his majestic beard. So I'll have to work on that one.
So you can give anyone in your community, you can give them a title. You would have to make them a member first.
Okay.
Now,
and so that's kind of like a nickname.
About members is that there was planned to be 2 other formats of communities. One where only members could post content, and one where only members could post or comment. But when we split from Steam, that developer that created communities left, and there has been no work done on the back end of communities ever since then, and that's been about 15 months. So if anyone on Hive find this thing and they're watching, it's just another little nudge. We've done nothing on the we've done nothing on the back end of community. Obviously, you've seen all the things that we've done on the front end, but we've done nothing on the back end of communities in 15 months, and it's still amazing. But after the hard fork, which is at the end of next month, there is plans for people to start working on the back end of community and do things like that, and do things like the required beneficiary as a back end feature, as opposed to our like way around it. So
yeah, your workaround. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Awesome.
And maybe they may decide that the workaround is plenty good. It is actually plenty good. It probably don't need a back end way for it, but if they do it, that's fine for me. That's even better. We prefer it decentralized like that. Well, our protocol is decentralized, but yeah. So
awesome. All right. Okay, so I think that's most of the settings and things like that. Do you want to walk through any of the other navigation pieces? I mean, obviously you can, look at different communities and things like that. But just in terms of the front end, do you want me to give you the keys back here?
Give me the screen share. We'll go through it real quick. It'll be funny because we had a very long discussion after doing some observational tests with people about our menu system. So they are going to change for the better. It's going to be pretty exciting and hopefully way easier to use. But there's a bunch of them.
Okay.
So it may not be overnight. As it is right now, you can go to your feed of everyone that you follow. Here it is. Here's everyone that I follow. Here's the feed of all of the posts in every one of the communities that I follow.
Okay.
And you have the ability on PeakD, this is a centralized feature, to favorite people. And so therefore, and I don't really use this feature too much myself, but if you go to a user, there's a star button, or in interactions, there's a remove from favorites. Those are the same thing. So if it's in favorites, then you can do a favorites feed. So it's just like you can follow a lot of people, but who are your actual favorites? And that is a list. It is a centralized, well, it's a decentralized list, to be honest. Well, I take that back. It's a centralized list. So your user lists are like private lists. So you don't have to follow everyone. You can simply add them to a list. So if I go over here, I could add them to a list. So you could be following a ton of people in more of a quiet stalker sort of way, right?
Yeah.
You want to see their stuff, but you don't necessarily want to follow them because it crowds too much of your stuff, or because it's you only every once in a while want to see your users. Okay. Now keep in mind this list is different based on beta and regular. So this isn't my real list. This is just my testing list because I'm on beta right now. So there you go. So that's interesting. User lists have a really cool thing. So you could add everyone that is liberty minded to this kind of private list of yours and see all of their liberty sort of posts.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
So
or something other than, I mean, the other way to is there a way to filter by topic as well?
Yep. Okay. So here we are in Explore. We have this where you could see by topics, your favorite topics. So let's go to every post that is written about Utah, because that's the state that I'm in most of the time. I'm not there right now. I travel a lot. I'm in Nevada right now. So, and again, you can organize by trending or by recent. There's probably not too much. And my internet's super slow. Okay, there we go. So here's everything, posts that are in Utah, which is cool. So I'll go every once in a while. I'm like, oh, I want to look at my posts that are about Hive Fest or Hive or PeakD or photography. And that's with that little star button sort of thing. And again, you have 3 different views. and you have a couple of different sorting mechanisms. And that's the same thing for, so users and topics will show up there. Those are favorites. So now badges are interesting. These are things that you may want to use for the Liberty community.
Okay.
So everyone that is Liberty minded, you can give them a badge. Everyone that is a developer, for example, this user, Asgarth, has given them a badge. He has shared the posting key with me, so I could give this badge to anyone as well. And the way to do it is just simply, this is an account. If I log in with this account and go to a developer and I just follow them, and there you go. And then you can subscribe to these badges. And so you have user lists, which are private lists. A badge would be a public list of users. So one really fun one is the Utah. Again, with the Utah thing, I have given this so we can look at the recipients. These are all the users that I know of that are located in Utah. And you can go and see when the last time they posted, their vote value, all that sort of stuff. See if they're active anymore. And you say, well, I want to follow the Utah people that are active. So you look and you go manage, and you can follow, that sort of thing. So,
Chris Middleton is saying subscribe to On-Chain Art.
Yeah. So On-Chain Art is one of those ones that does a ton of stuff with communities. Well, this is his account. So we're going to go to his subscriptions and find the On-Chain Art community. So he's subscribed to On-Chain. Makes sense that the On-Chain Art account subscribed to On-Chain Art community. So look, they have a default of the photo view. And this is a bug over here, not showing me the other views. So this is my job to report this sort of stuff. Anyways. Oh, it's when you're in the photo view, it's not showing up. So, so you could go in here and you got the photo option. You've got different options. They use preferred topics. They have moderators, admins. I don't know if they have the templates, but they also have a chat. They have a curated content. That's when there's a curator that will say, hey, these are interesting posts. Again, with my slow internet and my lack of patience, I'm literally in the middle of the desert, just so you know. I'm like 10 miles from even a house. So, yeah, so here's all the curated content. So he does a ton of stuff for this community. Really good community, good user base, and using all the cool features. So I love that. Going back to the menus, so we have that badge, which makes sense. So you can give anyone a badge for any sort of thing. So, and then integrate it with the communities and just do all sorts of fun different things.
Okay.
You've got the chat feature, you've got notifications. Because I wrote that post, I have a lot of notifications. I usually go and look for ones that are actually people that are replying instead of just voting. So I'll go directly to that post. I got a warning saying your video's owner has disabled playback on the other sites. Just a heads up. So that's actually something for you.
In terms of YouTube you're talking about?
Yeah, so on your YouTube, you do not allow a platform like PeakD or any of the other platforms to show the content on the site.
Oh, look at that.
By
Okay.
default.
I got to switch that out then.
Yeah, that's something on your YouTube.
Okay.
But and that was what happened last time. Because he's saying, I'd like to just watch it right there on your posts, Jarvie, but I have to click here and go over to their YouTube and watch it directly on YouTube. So
no, that's good feedback. All right, I got to fix that then.
Okay. So I think I've covered most of the things.
Yeah, no,
Menu pages will be changing, search will be changing, and just tons of small things to get ready for new users. We have done zero marketing to new users on purpose because we want everything to be good. And if we don't want them going, I don't know about that.
yeah,
The funny thing is our whole thing is true ownership, but we recognize that we're going to have to create a non-true ownership experience for people that don't care. The people that just want to go in, use Facebook, click that I'm on Facebook, and then they have an account like that, and they don't want to handle keys at all, because
yep,
if you have keys, you have ownership. But they don't want to do that because that means installing Hive or Hive Keychain or using PeakLock or Hive Signer, doing those sorts of things, putting the content onto the blockchain themselves. Having all that responsibility is too much. And they're like, I just want to comment on Matt's post. That's it. I don't care.
yeah,
I don't plan on doing anything else. I don't even plan on creating posts and making money. We say, okay, here is a custodial account for you. All you do is click that Facebook thing, set a username, and you are ready to go. Well,
yep,
and a password. And boom, they're on there ready to go. And what we're going to tell them is, look, all rewards are going to be declined, or the beneficiary is going to be someone else, because we at PeakD do not want to be responsible for your money.
yeah, yes,
Do
yeah,
you want to make money? Be responsible and own your own keys. But until that point, fine, go for it. Write the
yeah,
stuff. Do everything you want.
yeah. I think Leo Finance came up with one solution for that too, because they have a soft account start that includes your Twitter
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yes, I have an issue.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Here are my gripes online. They
Yeah,
are not letting people correctly. Last I checked, it was. I have an issue with the fact that they're not letting people know that that's what's happening.
okay,
And also, they created keys, I think, for those accounts. And that's a problem. You do
okay,
not have to create an account or keys for an account. So we would basically give ourselves authority for that account. And when they create keys, we give it to them so that we never, ever touch their keys.
that makes
So that we
sense.
can never be responsible. And if they get hacked, there's some big problems. And also, they're letting all those accounts earn tons of money. And so it just makes me cringe a little bit
Yeah,
that there's so much opportunity for problems there.
yeah.
And
I'll have to get one of them on to talk about it, because I don't
I
know if
hope
they're.
that their security practices are great, and I'm cheering for them, and I want the best for them.
Yep.
And everyone on Hive cheered that they did this, but I'm like, you guys don't realize what could happen. And I hope they're not creating the keys for these accounts and just using posting authority. And I hope that their security is good. And I think it's important that they tell their users that it's a custodial and that they're not getting the full experience of Hive because it's custodial. And what happens when they I know that they're willing to give the keys to someone else, but what's happening at that point? Do they still own the keys? Do they still have a record of those keys? If not, there's two owners. If they do, there's technically two owners of that, and that user should be notified of this.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely I haven't had any of the Leo Finance guys on, so I definitely want to get them on and kind of like talk to them about how they navigate that.
I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely creates a conundrum if there are keys being generated or something like that.
And just to put it out there, I love the Leo Finance team. I use their Cub DeFi products, which is a decentralized finance kind of interface to an auto market maker, random, DeFi sort of stuff. So I use those products. So
Okay. Yeah. No. They're like you said in the beginning, some folks are, they're pushing. I don't know if the right phrase is like pushing the envelope or I mean, you're at the frontier of creating these things, and so I don't know. So look, there's always the possibility that someone jumps too quickly. Or does something that, if there is a workaround, maybe the workaround, the juice isn't worth the squeeze, so to speak. But
yeah,
I would love to talk to one of them. So
yeah,
it's an open invite to any of the Leo Finance
yeah,
guys to come on. But
yeah. Message
let me
them.
see.
They're
Bill
there.
Prag chiming in saying, I think there's a notification that you need to download keys as soon as they feel comfortable. Not sure about the
Yeah,
creation.
yeah.
So yeah, I would definitely love to talk to them
So
about
they
that.
are prompting people to get keys, but what happens before that?
Yeah.
Were the keys already created by Leo Finance? If so, will they still have access to those keys afterwards? The solution that we'd like to go down the route is don't create the keys until the user's ready.
I would agree. I think that's always the concern of security, right? Like, is there a back end? Is there some kind of loophole where someone else can gain access, whether it be the mechanism by which the account is created, or someone who has nefarious intent, where if Leo Finance is the custodian of these keys in addition to the actual user, does Leo Finance lose authoritative control of those keys and someone else is able to get in?
I want to make note that the last 5-10 minutes, a new user listening to your podcast can just forget entirely. This is like advanced. This is advanced level stuff that like app creators, developers, and blockchain witnesses. These are the things that they discuss.
Yeah, in which case, I would tell anyone if they do want to be a fly on the wall and kind of listen to some of these things, just go join some of the Discords and just read some of the stuff that goes back and forth on the Discords, because
they never even talk about this high level stuff.
Yeah. So look, Jarvie, I want to say thank you. I appreciate it. I think we covered a ton, so I think this is chock full of stuff for everyone and anyone who kind of wants to get more up to speed. I would tell everyone, if you're already on the Hive blockchain, and you haven't already, check out PeakD as a front end, as a first point of use option for you, because there is a ton of versatility built into it, and the care that you and your team are taking, Jarvie, it's evident. I mean, the user experience is really good. I know you're going to make it fantastic. So
there is a default chat for every person when they come to PeakD, and that is an open PeakD chat. You can write your questions for us. I don't get to it all the time, but I'll check it every couple. There's other people on there that may answer your question before me, but ask your questions. I am happy also to, if they want to send me a direct message and they're like, hey, a user tester, they want to be a user tester, we do pay. Especially if this is the problem. They've already watched all this, so they don't really qualify as a brand new user.
Yeah.
There are certain
if you fast forwarded to this point,
brand new people. There's certain tests for brand new people. There will be some tests for people that already are experienced, especially when we're testing new products.
Yeah. Okay.
We have a lot of those people to help us.
Yeah.
You can only be a brand new user once.
Yeah, if you have friends who have not watched this video, you can refer them. So,
and are willing to be on, do a 2-hour session, but they do get paid. So
awesome. All right, cool. Look, this has been fantastic. I want to thank you. Look, when new stuff is coming out, and it sounds like it's going to be pretty consistent, I want to have you back again, because this all goes to creating that library of knowledge, so we can kind of reduce that learning curve a little bit and make sure that people can get up and running quicker.
We missed one. The newest one was collections. We could have another discussion about that and how to use those, but I can also give you the 30-second pitch.
Go for it. Right. We do the 30-second, and then we'll also do
Okay.
one that's a little bit more in depth later.
The 30-second pitch on collections. The full name is Curated Content Collections. So they are a collection of content that is curated by someone. So you would go in and you would find every post that talks about liberty, or do a collection of all the introduction posts. You have all these introduction posts that you're telling people to do. Go to all of them. So when you go up into that little pencil thing, you would just go down and say, create a collection. And then you would go find all those posts, find the URL for each one of them, put the URL for all of them in there. And then underneath them, write a little snippet, like you're the curator. Say a few words saying this person loves base, or put the location of each of them. You're the curator. You want to help connect people through this collection. So it's a bunch of posts inside of basically one post, and it's displayed beautifully to show off the posts, and then you're going to go. So there's a lot of collections made to help new users. Like, here are all the posts that will help a new user. We are creating one right now actively. Guess what we're going to put in there? We're going to put this post into that. So if you go down to curated collections, so go to that NFT one. This is this isn't Midlet's one. But yeah, this was cool. So this community created a collection. It's actually an application. It's a whole website. And they created a collection of posts that will help their users. And so now, if they want to help onboard a new user to their platform, which is nftshowroom.com, I believe, they could just send them right here. So, the first post is a guide. The second one, what is crypto art? This third one is basics of Hive blogging for artists. And so you can see that commentary up top, and they can organize them in order. And we have, it's been around for a few weeks now. We've got over 100, 150 collections already created. It is going to be a heavy emphasis because this is what it's going to help make content evergreen, so that even these old posts that were done 30, 40 back in November of last year, they still have importance. Your post that you write should still have importance instead of the 7-day Hive reward voting pool. We have collections that were done of posts. Someone documented the daily, those things where they document your life of your beard growing or something or other. Well, yeah. He documented his child for every day for a year. And he had posts, and they were all back in 2017 or 2018. And so he made a collection of all 365 of those posts. And it's fascinating. So then you could go through, instead of looking at every post, maybe you just look at the collection and his kid's getting older. That's cool.
Yeah. And this is interesting. So if you go to the Explore, instead of curated collections, the View More, it also gives you the option for some of these other. Now, these aren't exactly collections, but these are kind of like topic headings, right? So
this is the basic way that people on the mobile view things. We will be integrating this more into the desktop experience as well.
Yeah, and so you can look by listing of communities. You can go back and list by the badges that are out there.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting. You can look at your own. I believe these are your own analytics. Is this right?
Yeah. So there are your account analytics, and then there's a tab up there called your views. So you could go and see your actual view analytics. And it's an older system. We actually upgraded to a new system that will actually track Brave, because the new system is Brave friendly, meaning it isn't so intrusive. And Brave is like, yep, we're fine with your analytics system.
Okay.
So none of your view counts in the last month, and this is just for PeakD, keep in mind. So.
Okay. Yeah. Quite often I'm using Brave. Every so often I'm using Chrome, so that probably has something to play into it.
So Brave blocks our old system, which was called Matimo. Our new system it won't, because it's it isn't an intrusive system. So it's not like a Google Analytics or anything like that, which is very intrusive. And then we'll be able to do much better API or much better analytics. We'll be able to show people a lot more. So
awesome.
And we'll be able to organize content based on communities, based on how many people have visited, like actual usages, actual usages of views, so.
I think analytics is going to be a big part of this moving forward because, especially if you're a creator, right? If you're putting content out there. But on top of that, look, if you are someone who isn't necessarily creating content, but you're interacting a lot and being an integral part of the community, and you're getting whatever it is, curation rewards or things like that, you also have some backup to understand, okay, well, if I am doing this to make money or crypto, what am I doing that's actually effective? Whereas, other things I might be doing are not exactly, having the desired impact. So definitely interesting.
And so it'll be a big thing going forward as we start to reward people based on views and analytics and integrate ad systems if they desire those. Awesome.
All right, look, Jarvie, thank you. I want to say thank you again. Sounds like we have a 3.0 that we need to have talk a little bit more about collections and things like that as that evolves and some of these other things that you're rolling out. Everyone, tomorrow night.
Feature. Yeah.
Tomorrow night, I will be live with Top Lobster talking about some Liberty swag and merch that he's putting together, building community through T-shirts and beanies and all kinds of other stuff, which is cool. And then Thursday, we're talking natural rights. So thank you again, Jarvie. Have a good evening, and I will see everyone tomorrow.
Okay.
There are so many reasons to decentralize, whether it's lack of control over your own data, platforms where you are the product and get paid little to no money, or censorship and government oversight into your personal communications. That's why I'm taking a journey to decentralize my social media as well as my life. Make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and check out the Decentralize Everything playlist on this channel. Whether you're curious or looking to decentralize too, I would love your company as I make a move to break free, take control, and decentralize everything.